getting on. Sat by the fireside, pondering on. Picture book, pictures of your mama, taken by your papa a long time ago. Picture book of people with each other to prove they love each other a long time ago. Picture book, picture book.
Basically into the second half of August, which is pretty unbelievable. Look who's back. Good to be here with Ron Nicoletti, Jason Blewett, of course, alongside. We are fast and good, my friend, and ready to get to work with a new week.
You're all rested now? You're ready to go forward, ahead?
Yes.
Charge ahead, yeah. We've been, as you know, we were down in the Keys. We've been getting hit by rain, but we're on the turf today, and the turf is listed as good. So let's keep this rain away for a couple of days.
Definitely. No, feeling tan, rested, and ready, as Richard Nixon would say. As we dive in, let's not waste any time. We'll get right into a few key highlights on the program on this Thursday afternoon, August the 15th, and that includes, how about wanting some speed and looking at two, battle-hardened, very honed-in, quality turf sprinters, Ronnie, in that third race between Tiger Blood and Grand Malbec. They are two horses at the top of their game.
Yeah, Tiger Blood, very impressive last time out winning that race. So we'll see how Tiger Blood, got to stay out of that speed duel there. And, of course, that is on the turf. And our old buddy Blings Express and Delta Blues Man. Not the old Delta Blues Man, but in a good barn, maybe takes that next step forward.
Yeah, that's the thing with him down the line in today's 8th race. Does Delta Blues Man, who is at the tender age of 9, does he improve second back for Steve Kosaris against his foe in the 10-year-old Blings Express, who might be favored? I had done the math. I think they had combined those two geldings, 143 between them lifetime starts with 37 wins and a few key carryovers, Ronnie, up for grabs. I saw you tweet out the scratches a couple of hours ago. We've got two today, beginning with the Super High Five in the first.
Yeah, race number 1, you need 7 starters. We do have them in the first race, a little over $2,000, and you see that Rainbow Six has not hit since you left. So we've been waiting for you to come back. About $600,000 in that one to start today.
Absolutely. Now, the early pick 5 does center around, I think, a very key maiden special weight, which goes a bit later in the day. In fact, you've got that Tiger Blood Grand Malbec showdown in the third, and then the fourth race will house my early pick 5 single. I am normally going to give the edge to a second-time starter like Sweet Giant, and I'm sure there's some people listening going, look, it's a little potentially error-based not using Armando R in the fourth, but I'm going to take a stand. I think Sweet Giant ran a good enough race first out where he improves today for trainer Juan Avila. I know we've got a good stat coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, Juan over the last year has just been going great guns. So I agree with you. I have that horse on top of my ticket too.
Definitely. And then moving, I guess, back from the cash out leg into the first. I've got the favorites in the last leg, race number 5, which is kind of a neat crossroads where that'll kick off the late pick 5 down the line. I've got my single in the fourth. I am using the 2 speeds, hoping, even if they get hooked up in a duel, that they just wire the field or run 1-2 around the turf course in Grand Malbec and Tiger Blood. I think the big favorite in the second race, I Idolize You, might be a little vulnerable, and I'll expound upon that. I've got some coverage in the second. And for me anyway, Ronnie, I prefer the drop-downs in the first race, led, of course, by the 5, Venezuelan Forever, who to me, it just seems like it's go time today in for the 10.
You're going to face these 10 open claimers after making that mid-race bid, finished 5th. That was a really good state-bred 16 optional claimer, produced a couple of next-out winners. Good connections in Safi Joseph Jr., Raylu Gutierrez, named throughout. And I think the drop is key for Venezuelan Forever. And I use Faithful Sue. And there's a couple other ways you can go in there. But I think this horse, when the smoke clears, will be the favorite.
Now, there are some horses that are running out of the same race here. In fact, way back when, the opener on Summit of Speed Day, June 28th. Ronnie's a little bit of a bigger fan of this field than I am because you've got those horses more highly rated. But I thought we'd show it because it's just a good race. I don't love this field as a whole, but again, pretty exciting 3-horse battle. Now, on the lead is Samurai's First Lady, who's basically going to stop. You've got Faithful Sue, the 9 between. Keep your eye really on the 11, Vineyard Nina, who was over 30-1 in this race and did cross the finish line first. We'll take a couple of different looks, and I get the relevance of looking at the head-on might be open for debate, but still, you can even see from the pan Vineyard Nina as they get closer to the wire. I mean, this horse really took Faithful Sue down towards that inside rail, and in fact, here's the eventual disqualification video as Alvaro Donis continues to go righty, and they'll wind up basically alongside the rail. Thankfully, they were clear of Samurai's First Lady. In the rematch here, do you prefer Faithful Sue against Vineyard Nina?
I do a little bit. He's stretching out to the mile, dropping a notch. Finished at second before it was placed first that day. I thought that horse was running okay. Now, Vineyard Nina, as you mentioned, 30-1 that day. So I just thought these two off that performance. I like Venezuelan Forever, and be honest, I was stretching to find the other two horses I liked in the spot, and that's why I got them in second and third.
All right, fingers crossed we stay on the turf throughout the day. 5 races on the grass are carded on this Fast and Good Thursday afternoon. As we move on to race number 2, you've got a dated 6250 claimer as we hit the main track for the first time, and this one open for horses that have not won a race since February 28th. They'll go 7 furlongs. Your top pick, my second horse, I Idolize You. It's his race to lose.
Yeah, he's dropping into this, as you mentioned, dated claimer, stretching out to the 7/8 of a mile. He stalked the pace. He finished third. That was those 10 claimers going 5.5. Third start back from the layoff can be the charm. I think this is a good spot for this horse, but I can understand you having some trepidation and want to go another way. But I just thought, you know, in this field, he was the one to beat.
He's definitely the horse to beat, and he's a likely winner, and probably going to be around 1 to 2 or 3 to 5. My issues with him, though, I don't really love the fact that this horse previously had gone through the barns of Jason Service and Saffie Joseph, and this horse as good a year basically because Mr. French has been so good on the turf. But Marcio Navarro batting about 25%. He's had a good year, no knock against him, but you are dealing with a horse who was still claimed in late May for 12.5, who's now running for 62.50 off 2 sharp trainers in the past. I also 7 furlongs for this horse does worry me, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's always a concern. And the horse that you have on top, Royalston, has a previous winner at that distance, so I can understand that. But he's dropping into this, as you mentioned, dated claimer. He faced better on both turf and dirt since returning from, in May. So he's dropping down to a spot where he can run well.
Maybe if I Idolize You just can't stay the trip, it turns it into a bit of a grind fest. And Royalston doesn't look all that good. In fact, he doesn't look nearly as sharp as I Idolize You on paper. But maybe this is a spot where he's in the right place at the right time, going and demanding 7/8. And I'm going to try to get a little optimistic here, second off that trainer change to veteran John Vincent. Now we move on to the third. We're up in class, and we're certainly in for a great race. I mean, if you're a fan of these 5/8 turf sprinters, you got to have a soft spot for Tiger Blood, who's 6, and certainly the younger 4-year-old in Grand Malbec. And here he is for Victor Barboza Jr. by Buckethead. We've always had a thing for this horse, just having a way off the beaten path type Florida-bred pedigree, and he's done it out there. I mean, he has worked his way up from a previous $12,500 bottom-level maiden claimer into a horse that went 6 for 9 last year and is 7 for 10 overall. I tried, Ronnie, trying to come up with, when looking at the speed of Grand Malbec and Tiger Blood, tried to come up with a closer. I just couldn't do it. I think there's a good chance they're just going to run 1-2 around the turf course.
Well, you know that we always, if you watch our show all the time, we always have a lot of stats from Victor Barboza Jr. because they're so incredible.
Yeah.
But this is one that I found interesting, and this is a layoff of 61 to 180 days, sprints on the turf. He's only 15%, 44% in the money, and $1.34 I. And this is not a knock on him. Everything he does great, but maybe this gave me a shot to like Tiger Blood just a little bit more today.
And could there be a case where Tiger Blood just gets the lead slightly over him and has that coveted and key inside position on this turf course, and again makes it 6 for 10 on the year? You talk about teaching an old gelding some new tricks. It's remarkable how not only has this horse turned his game around, but how good he's been since getting back, or I should say just switching in general to the turf.
Yeah, he's been, he's just been totally incredible. Now, the old adage of the longer price of the young couple entry, I thought maybe the 5 Grand Saiman can end up sitting the trip behind Tiger Blood after his 2-race win streak ended. He had a little trouble in his last race when he finished behind his stablemate, Steve Glaceris, Miguel Vasquez. Maybe this horse closes. I don't think he can get Tiger Blood or Graham Albeck, but certainly could be on the ticket.
Oh, absolutely. He can be in the Tri or the Super. The same with the 7, the Gipper. They are the two very logical-looking, off-the-pace type finishers in the field, but they've got two very good speed horses, both at the top of their game. As we take a little time out on this live Thursday edition of Gulfstream Today, we'll have that Chase for the Rainbow Six after this.
And the Princess Rooney with a quarter-mile left to go. 4 off the top of the turn. Race for the Kathleen O'Connell barn in front by 5 with just an eighth of a mile to go. And she's turning in this into a runaway. The powerhouse performance. She punches her ticket to the Breeders' Cup and wins by 5.
That's right, the summer season in full swing. Almost hard to believe it is August 15th, and just what, about 2.5 weeks out from the second round of the Florida Sire Stakes, as we continue to see, Ronnie, if chance it can potentially run the table. The last day I was here was the opening round of the Florida Sire Stakes, and I know we talked about it, but still having a little time to digest his effort. It was just I thought a really big performance with a pretty taxing trip in the Fager.
Yeah, and we'll see how he comes back, and I think he's the one that's going to get all the attention coming back. We'll see how it runs just a couple of weeks down the road. Now, it's 7 furlongs. This is where they start to get that second test. Of course, it ends with a mile in the 16th, but 7 furlongs, and that's where I think you start separating these horses. Of course, 6 furlongs, they just go. 7, different story.
Yeah, no, it's where like the boys step up to hopefully become men, if you will, stepping up to the varsity level, maybe even above that. Speaking of endings, as it stands, we do have a Stronach 5 that's up for grabs tomorrow afternoon. We've got a Gulfstream Park double header in the mix, including race 8 and race number 10. We do have a 10-race Twilight Friday that begins at about 2:05 Eastern. But this, at least as far as over the next 3 weeks, this will be your last chance to dive in and get a piece, hopefully, of that 12% takeout and the 100K guarantee, because it's taking a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, and mandatory payout. So no matter what, even if you end up with 4 and you're the only one with 4, you will get paid on that day. Mandatory payout, like we said, taking a couple of week break because Timonian will be running, not Laurel. And then when Laurel comes back, we'll kick the Stronach 5 off again.
Nice seeing Golden Gate Fields back in the mix from good old Albany and certainly Berkeley, California. Our good buddy Matt Dinnerman out there holding down the fort with a great crew. 4:53 p.m., your listed post time for the start of tomorrow's $100,000 guarantee, but also mandatory payout in that August 16th Stronach 5. Meanwhile, nearly 600,000 reasons to jump in and play this 20-cent jackpot Rainbow Six here at Gulfstream Park. Very good sequence that not only has my early pick 5 single and Sweet Giant. Do you have any singles going on?
I had this all figured out, and then they scratched the 9-horse Strandioro in the last race. I saw that horse is the lone speed, so I ended up going 4 deep because after that, I had no clue. So no singles today, 38-40. I think I got the Sweet Giant, and I added Armando R in here just, for safety's sake. I like Sweet Giant, too. Then 3 deep, and those are the logical 3 that you used in race number 5 to 5, 6, and 8 on the turf race. And you see the rest of they go down Rose Path, Rolling Bobby, a big drop down for Peter Walder, and the coverage there. In the last race, Jason, I just said I got to go 4 deep. I didn't know who to use in there. I said, finally, I figured out the last race. I got speed. They scratched it.
Yeah, no, I like that horse, too, for trainer Rory Miller. That was, for me anyway, I saw your long shot. Jessica got scratched too, but Strandioro, a major absence out of the nightcap. We do have a pretty interesting Joe Orsino second-time starter and a replay, in fact, coming up a bit later in the Thursday nightcap. So sit tight for that. And there's certainly certainly some stuff to pick apart regarding the last race. You've got two key horses coming out of the same race here in the opening leg of the Rainbow as we stretch out on the main and go that mile on the 16th. The race I'm referring to was run back on July 18th, and Armando R is the one who really ran the better race. We both like Sweet Giant, and we'll elaborate why we like her. She was more or less pocketed up, was able to pull that ground-saving inside trip, was under a very long drive in her debut, trying to win at a very demanding distance. Armando R, even with that very slow pace set by the winner in Quality Special, who wired the field at 6-1, she did run pretty well for all intents and purposes, making that wide run and trying to basically slingshot the field. Sweet Giant, Ronnie, at this point is third on the rail. Won't run as well as Armando R, but again, I'm always usually going to give the edge to a second-time starter.
And that's exactly it. You know, this was Armando R's third lifetime start, and the 3 Sweet Giant was making its debut. And you just know the connection, there's going to be some upside with this horse.
Yep.
And that's why I sort of flip-flopped these two. And just over the past year, I was mentioned Juanavia with Sweet Giant. Just a small little stat that I found interesting. Second start, maiden special weight on the dirt. He's perfect. 2 for 2, 100%. 760 is the return of investment. It's not a big sampling, but it shows that he can get these horses after a first start under maiden special weight conditions to win. And that's what sold me on Sweet Giant over Armando R, who you did not, you singled him, but I had to use both of those for all the reasons we just shown.
No, she's got the best form, but hopefully Sweet Giant, who again had to win 2 turns, mile and a 16th, first out on the dirt, that was what she was up against. Not an easy hurdle to overcome. She ran well enough that I think she gets the edge today, and I'm curious to see who's going to be favored in this race. It might ultimately be very close between the 1 and 3. They are the big 2 in today's 4th race. Back to the turf we go. We stay at that mile and a 16th distance. Coming up on this 3-and-up filly mare, $16,000 claimer. Much like the trio I used in the early pick 5 to hopefully cash out with a winning single, a Sweet Giant, and getting all 5 races right, I am sticking with the 3 chalks in the 5, 6, and 8. The 6th race is a good race. I do not have Ronnie's top selection, Rose Path, who's been in very good form on that 3-horse spread of 2-4-7. But to me, Ronnie, that race, no matter who you like, ultimately, do you think Mambo Dancer's the horse to beat off the big slop win?
I do, and I didn't use it. I got him further down the ticket, and I didn't use it on the ticket, and I'm got a 75 buyer in its last race. I'm going, oh, no, this is what's going to kill me in my Rainbow Six. I actually had 4 deep there and 2 deep in the 9th race and flip-flopped it at the end.
Well, with that scratch of Strandora, we'll see. The 6th race came up, and I know this sounds maybe a little shilly. It's a pretty compelling bottom-level claimer. There's a lot going on there. Meanwhile, the other, you've got Grand Malback and Tiger Blood in the 3rd. You got a very good-looking crew of Florida-bred turf sprinting fillies and mares in the 7th race, and Trip and Racing Luck, to me, probably are more important than any other factors. I'm 3 deep there. Gotta love the old-time geldings and Delta Bluesman and Blings Express. Ronnie and I both feel, though, Mr. Attila coming in off a trainer change and a layout. That horse got some back class. He might be a little bit sneaky. He's one of 2 I've got in the race with Blings Express.
That's the exact 2 I used on my ticket, too, just for the same reasons there. So we're both trying to be a little cute together there.
Definitely. And in a race that Ronnie spread with 4, my point, or his point, is well taken. The 9th race is wide open, and in just dealing with the play that's already $27, I said, you know, after the scratch of Strandioro, I do think Remarkable Silver ran just a sneaky good race first time out where you'll see and you can judge for yourself, but I feel as though just maybe mentally she needed the race, and I'm going to single her and anchor the $27 play as we start again with the race between the 5 Zhao's Dreams, the 6 La Bay for Patrick B. and Cohn, and the 8 Annabella Queen for Francisco D'Angelo. Among the 3, one of those 3 is probably going to win.
Yeah, and I went with the 5. You went with the 6. You went with the 5. LaBay stretching out to a mile and a 16. Responded to the drop down last time out. Well meant 2nd place finish. That's the favorite. Going a mile. Pappy and Cone, Raylu Gutierrez. But you saw both of our tickets. You got to have Zhao's Dreams, and I think you're also going to have Annabella Queen on your ticket from Francisco D'Angelo.
Despite being 1 for 20, she is right there every time. And sooner or later, you get a feeling she's going to bust through this condition. position, whereas the 5 Zhao's Dream has got a better lifetime record at 2 for 12. And for me, she is quite simply on her preferred surface. I think she's just a better turf horse.
Well, absolutely. She's had 8 starts on the turf with the 2 wins and a second on the other, not too good. So she's coming back. She was 3rd and 2nd, respectively. That was going on mile on the main track. So she's in good form, and she's definitely better on the turf today. The 6 horse and Alabama Queen drop into this level. Maybe that'll wake this horse up, get that elusive victory.
Slew of changes forthcoming for a number. You've got a quartet, maybe even bigger than a 4-horse spread, perhaps in race number 6 as we flip the page and we get on to the opening leg of this Thursday, August 15th, late pick 4. I mean, between the one Rose Path in off a win who's dropping down, or at least dropping in claim price to $62.50, you've got the Doble's second-time starter who I picked, Bird of Peace, who's cutting back off a sloppy track performance. Mambo Dancer in off that big, fast 75 buyer where she won by the length of the stretch. And then the Walder dropped out. I mean, between those 4, it's a pretty good matchup here.
Yeah, and as I said, when I was putting this ticket together, I kept going back and saying, I know this 4, leaving it out might hurt me here, but I give Rose Path because it's one of my favorite angles. The only 4-time winner in the field will face these condition claimers. Notched her 4th victory when defeating the 10 claimers, going 6 furlongs last time out. I like that angle, you know, where a horse has done something that no one else and the race is done. Rolling Bobby, we know how good Peter Walder is on the drop. Actually have a stat on Peter Walder on the drop. 50% drop in claiming price on the dirt. He's 11 for 35, 31%. He's in the money only almost 50% of the time and still that positive return of investment. He does well in the drop in there, and that's why I put that horse further than the 4 on the ticket.
And he's getting ready to pack his bags as well. I mean, texting, he's on social media. He got a nice write-up in the racing for him. Congrats to Peter Walder and Paradise Farms Corp with their Fast Pass getting invited for the $1 million Korea Sprint. In fact, $1 million up for grabs in that race, I think September 8th.
Well, he said to me he's taking an interpreter so he knows what to eat. I said, interpreters know what to say, not what to eat. So,
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's what he said. So
Maybe he should take you.
Oh, yeah, I'll show him what to eat.
Absolutely.
Nothing. Just drink water and come back home.
And that's it. Well, good news there, and we hope Fast Pass, and also you were telling me Jalen Journey got invited as well.
Yeah, I don't know if they accepted it or not, but I heard that.
But still pretty neat. Gives us something to root for, certainly on the other side of the planet there, on the other side of the globe. Rolling Bobby, no doubt dangerous. And I'm hoping the same sort of dangerous moniker will work for the 2 Bird of Peace, who in hindsight, maybe a little bit out of her element between the wet track, and maybe even more so than that. A mile is probably just too far for her.
Absolutely does her best work sprinting in there, and I've got to run a ticket. And I was saying this is a race where when you're putting your ticket together, you could find a single like Jason. You go 4 deep in this race if you can, because it's that competitive.
And we don't miss a beat in the competitive department. There's just not a lot of lengths, I think, separating maybe half the field, maybe even more than half the field in our co-featured 7th race. Good-looking cast of Florida-bred 3-and-up filly mare maiden special weight runners. Now, that said, you and I have kind of zeroed in on the same 3, who are 3 logical players, beginning with, are you looking maybe for Sugar Bolt just to wire the field here?
Yeah, 4 for 4 in the money, sprinting on the turf. 4 starts a win, a second, 2/3. Returns to grass, chased the pace, faded as the favorite. That was on the sloppy track. Here's another one where this horse does its best running on the turf course. Nikki Can proves she can run well sprinting on the grass last time out. When she closed, she's going to sit the trip, I think, there for Joe Cantonese.
A lot of speed here.
Yeah.
I think Sugar Bolt will run well, and I prefer her like you. Of the many potential speeds in the race, I think she's the most talented, but drawing the race up, you'd imagine Nike Can, who not only fits to a T here, that she's just going to get the kind of race flow she needs for Joe to make that one run. And I feel as though, even though she's been a little bit of a bridesmaid and it took her a while to finally break her maiden, I think 5 on the turf is her best trip. I feel as though this distance on this turf course has opened up some new doors for her. I'll take her. And we've also got, the 4 She's Such a Knockout, is a little bit of a wild card here for Elizabeth trying the turf.
Well, she's making a turf debut for Liz after dueling for lead and failing to finish 4th against this very familiar competition. Of course, if you've been following South Florida racing, you have to have your rain jacket on, because we've been dealing with a lot of horse races taking off the turf to the sealed sloppy track. They're trying to get this one on the grass, and that's what I find intriguing with this one.
And she got bet first time for Liz off that trainer change. And again, maybe slop wasn't what they wanted in that off-the-turf race towards the end of last month. A dangerous player for sure with Edgar Zayas. Race number 8, meanwhile, kind of like an old-timers day at Gulfstream Park, bringing on again between the 9-year-old Delta Bluesman and the 10-year-old, the Statesman in this race, Blings Express. I mean, you've got two geldings who have combined for 37 lifetime wins and 143 trips to the starting gate, which is pretty impressive. You have to wonder, though, to me, and clearly you saw it in a similar light, it does appear that Father Time, I'm not saying they're both hopeless for sure, but we're not dealing with the Delta Bluesman or even the Blings Express of old.
Yeah, and that's sort of what made me want to go looking somewhere else. We're going to give 3 selections here. Of course, if we had a 4th pick, it would be Delta Bluesman. You know, second, as you said, you know, since the change to the Steve Caceres part, second up the layup. I just thought that all that said, that Mr. Attila, changing barns into the Victor Barboza barn, 5-year-old turns back to a sprint, first start, finished third behind that hard-knocking horse, that repeat winner, Fortune Cookie. That was going a mile. Now, this horse hasn't run since March, but I'm thinking, you know, Blings Express, I think, is going to be the favorite in there. Usually runs well, third off the bench. You know, it's done okay at 6.5 furlongs. I just think that's the one to beat. I'm being cute like you were, Mr. Attila.
And we're likely going to get a horse. I think Blings Express, not only the favorite and horse to beat, he goes to the lead like he normally does. And I think we're going to just get that coveted first over trip, hopefully ready to roll here. And a horse that is, in the case of Mr. Attila, he's kept some pretty good company along the way, even though he's got a little bit of a layoff to deal with. First-time Barboza with his first drink rider, and Emiseo Jaramillo aboard. Those guys will see action in race number 9 this afternoon as we cap the card on the turf, going 5 furlongs with the group of 2-year-old filly, $25,000 maiden claimers. You've got Victor and Emiseo on the rail with the a firster in Grand Brandy, who's by First Samurai. You've scratched into her, right?
Absolutely scratched into her. She's the daughter of First Samurai, debuting for Victor with MCL named the handle. But, you know, he's got to deal with the pitfalls associating with a first-time starter breaking from the rail. And that's what I had written my analysis with the 9 in, who I thought was the speed and was going to win, in my estimation. But I understand using Remarkable Silver. I don't know about Singlet, but this horse had an excuse last time.
No doubt. I mean, you can watch this race and judge for yourself. A combination of a slight steady and a horse who just, to me, mentally was never really comfortable, never really got in a groove. She's very easy to spot in the yellow saddle towel and the pink cap of the Generasios. There's the steady off heels, and she was just basically ranked the entire far turn run while trying to hold her position down inside. She wasn't a threatening 6. They'll turn for home, and she'll get back in the picture, and she'll make up a couple of lengths. But in the end, I'm hoping this was the kind of race that, you know, just the proverbial light bulb went on, and she's properly spotted here running in these maiden 20 or running for maiden 25 second time out.
And it's so hard when you're a youngster like these 2-year-olds, when you're making a move and you have to steady and come back to re-rally again. You know, they're just learning. So I think there's a lot of upside in here, and certainly going to take the money, and you're getting Jairo Rodon riding for Joe Orsino. And Tangled Tail is dropping to the 25 level, trying to serve Brett McClellan. Like, this horse didn't run badly last time out. You know, dropping that notch on, of course, the sloppy track, going 5 furlongs. I just said, okay, maybe this horse can handle the turf day. Doesn't cost, I think it was $3,000 to sire, something like that. But Brett does a good job. He grabs,
Very good job.
He grabs some really nice horses, and I think this horse has a big shot today.
Well, he's kept Harry He going,
Yeah,
for
I know.
sure, in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. He entered for the main track the last couple of days. I think on Friday or Saturday he's entered in the main track or something like that. And we'll see if Harry gets in. If he is, he's a big danger.
And good to see Luca Pedici in the entries here today. I was just skimming Saratoga yesterday because obviously they run Wednesday through Sunday up there. And Luke actually rode the Bolton Landing Stakes for Antonio Sano. They checked in third.
Checked in third, yeah. So that was a good performance for them.
Yeah.
So Luca gets to spend a day up at the spot.
Absolutely. I'll catch up with him a bit later, maybe a Twitter video to find out about that experience. Ronnie and I, of course, all day with you from our clubhouse studios here high above the finish line as we take a little time out and we get the set ready for the one and only Pete Aiello.
The best chance for success begins with a solid foundation. At Hardacre Farm, early personal one-on-one care starts the journey to becoming a champion. Bred to leading stallions, our mares represent the highest standards. Hardacre Farm's signature in the breeding industry. Based in Ocala, Florida, breeder and owner Amy Tarrant has inspired excellence throughout her entire career. In your quest for success, start with Hardacre Farm, breeding the champions of tomorrow.